Hello and welcome to this week's video. Groups and leadership are on the docket. I'm Dr. Rick Merritt. In this presentation, we are focusing on how groups can be effective and how leaders of groups can get the job done. Here are your deliverables for the week. You're going to complete the quiz along with your discussions as normal, and also your informative speech self-observation log. Make sure all of these are done by the end of the week. Let me provide a bit of background with my experience in groups and cooperative learning. I've had the privilege of attending the Cooperative Learning Institute at the University of Minnesota for 3 workshops. I was able to interact with other instructors from around the world and at all levels of education. I am a firm believer that cooperative learning done right will work. There are many types of groups. They include families, support groups, interest groups, service groups, and probably the most familiar, work groups. The ones we're going to be focusing on are problem-solving or work groups. One note about virtual groups, and we are one. We don't meet, but we do get things done via our online presence. We're going to focus on the work groups, as noted, and how they operate. When students learn that there's a group project in a class, there's a huge sigh among them because they may have been in groups before and are thinking, I'll do all the work and they'll get the same credit. The main reason this happens is due to the most violated aspect of groups, and that is group size. According to the Cooperative Learning Institute, the optimal group size is 3. As you look at this visual, you'll see why. With 2, you're only getting 2 viewpoints, and it's really not considered a group. And to simplify, with 3, you get interaction without the opportunity to simply fade into the background. With 4 people, there are more avenues for interaction. However, it's somewhat easy for the 2 pairs to drift apart as work commences. When you get up to 5, then you'll have more chances someone will bail on the work and return for the presentation, and of course, in college, the grade. Once group size is determined, the group lifespan begins. According to Tuckman, as noted in the text, there are 5 stages of groups, and the first is forming, which is the beginning of the group. The next is storming, which is the period where we have conflicts and power plays within a group. Wherever humans gather in groups, there's a chance for conflict. Groups are no exception. Most people believe conflict is something to avoid, and I do agree. Unproductive conflict, like the one in this visual, is a problem. When you stick to issues and have reasoned discussions, you will have productive conflict. However, when you start attacking people personally, you run the risk of derailing a project. Using effective conflict management skills, a group will emerge from storming a much stronger team. The third stage is norming. This is the rule-setting stage. Group members avoid breaking the rules, and the team becomes more cohesive. This is followed by the performing stage. This is where the work gets done. The problem-solving sequence is followed with the shared leadership, and the work of the team is completed. That leads us to the adjourning and transforming aspect. The group will either cease to exist as its work is done, or will transform to another project. Now let's move on to leadership of groups. There are various types of leaders in groups, and each group will probably have a formal leader who will sit at the front of the room. However, everyone in a group can be a leader. People can help provide information as shown in the right-hand side of the screen, or help analyze a discussion and help with the generation of the final decision. There are also people who help maintain relationships and ensure the procedures are being followed. In essence, everyone in a group is responsible for its success, and in that way, everyone is a leader. Now, there are 5 keys to leadership and responsibilities. Be committed to the group goal. If you're not committed to the group goal, excuse yourself from a team, because a group cannot function if someone does not have the integrity and respect to help the team by committing to the goal. Second, as a leader, you want to keep those discussions on track. We do get lost in the weeds from time to time and go off on tangents. The goal is to get back on track to help the group complete its goal. Encourage input from all members. The quiet member is probably the one who has the solution, so ask that person for input. Finally, manage conflict among group members. As we've discussed, conflict will happen. It's up to the leader to ensure conflict does not derail a project. You will read in your book about how to run meetings, and also you'll want to take a look at these because at some point you are probably going to be the one in charge of leading a meeting. Next, we're going to look at systematic problem solving. This is an effective approach to solving problems in groups or individually. The first step is to identify and define the problem. This seems quite easy to do. However, when I pose a problem for classroom problem-solving groups, it becomes quite evident it's not. Here's the problem. You have a final examination you must attend in person on campus. The professor has stated there are no makeups and the door will be locked when the test starts. No late students will be admitted and no makeups will be offered. The test is very important to you because you need an A for your class in order to keep your scholarship the next semester. You are prepared and confident you'll get that A. You live 2 miles from campus and decide to leave 2 hours early. And when you get in the car, it will not start. So, what do you do now? Many groups take a look at the car as the problem. They'll start checking the battery, maybe it's out of gas, whatever reason. However, if you go through the scenario clearly and closely, you'll see the problem is actually getting to class on time to take the test and ultimately keep your scholarship. Now that we know that that is the problem, we go on to the second step, which is to analyze the problem. We know there are no makeups or late entries. We must be there in 2 hours or we will fail. Thus, the problem is, how do you get to class on time so you can take the test? Now we're ready for step 3. And that is determining the criteria for how we're going to judge the solutions. This is pretty easy. The solution must get us to campus on time before the test starts so we don't get locked out of the classroom. And I'm also going to add that we want to make sure that our solution is legal. Now we're ready for steps 4 and 5. First, looking at step 4. This is where we're going to identify alternative solutions. This is where we brainstorm, such as we could phone a friend, borrow a car, call a cab, steal a car, take the bus, walk, bicycle, and we may come up with some more. Now on to step 5. This is where we decide what we are going to do. We can delete steal a car, as it does not meet our criteria that the solution must be legal. Buses or cabs may not get us there on time. It's 2 miles, so we could walk or bicycle and get there on time. However, we would be tired and sweaty, which is really no way to take a test. Phoning a friend from the class would be a good option, as would borrowing a car. Ultimately, we decide to phone a friend because the time to borrow a car may take too long. We implement our decision, we get to campus with time to spare, and we ace the test. That's the systematic problem-solving process in action. That's all for this week. Remember to do your discussions, complete the quiz, and the self-observation log for the informative speech. Next week, we'll be working on persuasive speaking. Be thinking about topics. If appropriate, you can build on your informative speech. Until then, I will see you online.